AI-driven work life is here, but here's the thing. Your employees don't owe you their loyalty. Not when everything's changing again. Not when their jobs are being redefined by AI-driven future and digitalization 2.0. But if your people feel emotionally connected to your business story, your purpose, your mission, your strategy, they'll help you rebuild what's being torn down. When your people don't connect to your purpose, indifference turns into resistance. But when they do, emotional commitment becomes resilience. It becomes grit. Hello there, my friend. I am your host, Susanna Rantanen, and I'm known as the world's leading story-driven employer branding expert and author. I welcome you to this episode on Story-Driven Business Podcast. And as you know, this podcast has been relaunched with a more specific, even more specific target audience. This is now for all of you who recognize themselves as growth-driven, growth-minded, future-oriented B2B founders, entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business leaders from HR to business development, from communications to marketing and sales. Those of you who aspire to create better results and better life, work in a purpose-driven environment, and enjoy the fruits of your professional success also in your personal life. In this episode, I'll show you how emotional connection to your business story prepares your organization to the near future that continues to be shaped by uncertainty, rapid change, and AI transformation. And why story-driven leadership is not soft, it's smart. Let's get started. Now, we're living the decade of reinvention. AI is automating knowledge work, strategies are pivoting monthly, job roles are mutating faster than HR can write job description. But one thing remains constant. Humans commit when they care. And they care when they connect. This is a bit of an egg and chicken situation. But that's the foundation of emotional commitment. According to Gallup's 24 Global Workforce Report, and this was staggering, only 21% of employees and only 27% of managers say that they feel involved and enthusiastic about their work during this time of rapid change. That means that most of your company's managers and workforce are not emotionally connected to your company's strategy, your mission. Employees and managers around the world are feeling less happy about work than they have in years, with managers reporting the sharpest declines. How does that make you feel as a business leader? If you thought engagement is just about productivity, you're wrong. It's more and more about emotional alignment and commitment. When change hits, whether it's what's currently going on, AI-driven change, AI rollouts, business restructuring, or new operating models, employees without emotional commitment react with fear, resistance, or worse, apathy. And managers without emotional engagement become bottlenecks instead of bridges. This is really serious. Let's talk about the psychological safety at work. Employees who are emotionally connected to your business story are more resilient. Research shows a direct correlation between employee resilience and engagement, and even stronger links between resilience and job satisfaction. I'll connect the links to these sources for you. You can find them at the show notes version of this episode. Go to modernemployerbrand.com/podcast205. So this means that resilience isn't just the personality trait. It's something organizations can and should built through better communication, ensuring psychological safety in the midst of all this change taking place, and making sure that employees and managers can find meaning in their work as it changes, as the expectations towards them are being changed. Amy Edmondson, who's famous for her groundbreaking research on psychological safety, proves that when teams feel safe to speak up, fail, and learn, they adapt better. Psychological safety is not just about protecting egos. Psychological safety is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. And this makes it a launchpad for navigating ambiguity. In teams, it refers to team members believing that they can take risks without being shamed by other team members or their manager. People feel accepted and respected, contributing to better experience in the workplace. Psychological safety benefits organizations and teams in many different ways. It has consistently played an important role by facilitating ideas and activities to a shared enterprise. It also enables teams and organizations to learn and perform, and in recent years, it has become a more significant organizational phenomenon due to the increased necessity of learning and innovation. The most empirically supported benefits of team being psychologically safe are, number one, improving likelihood of processing innovation success, learning from mistakes, improving employee engagement, and increasing team innovation and creativity. So how do we engage our people in this AI-driven transformation? The key message is here. When people see that their work is a meaningful part within the story of business transformation, they change more fully and more willingly. This applies to every single person outside the management boardroom. All of those who are not regularly involved in these discussions behind closed doors about change, whether planning the strategy, deciding on its execution, sharing responsibilities, and especially all the talks leadership tends to have before they are personally ready to commit to the plan. So the more leadership will engage the entire organization to these transformation plans, the better the commitment. But the problem is that we are locked in this thinking that involving means giving the entire organization access to the top level discussions and planning, which is of course very hard, if not impossible. Albeit, many organizations manage this as well, so it's not really impossible, to be honest. However, we can involve our employees as the audience who are being kept up to date of the planning process, like they were watching an edited document with a narrative and purpose. We should rather give our staff the opportunity to join regular internal panels and fireside chats as the audience where management discuss the future, the vision, and the decision-making process, their experiences, the ups and downs in a lighthearted manner to keep people engaged, excited, and looking forward to this change journey. Inclusivity is not just about accepting different genders and nationalities and races to our organization. It starts with inviting our employees into that change journey and trusting them to voice their thoughts and opinions, but also contribute their views and experiences from the angles that they are looking at. The typical approach is to keep everything a guarded secret until the top management is ready to come up with official statements and presentations in the most unemotional manner and full-blown corporate jargon. And I do understand the worry. What if our employees share the business-sensitive information externally and our competitors find out about our plans before we are ready to go public? I mean, that's a valid concern. But what if we trusted our people? What if we explained we are trying a new approach, a business-sensitive approach, and none of this information can leak outside? If you cannot trust your people, you have made a huge hiring mistake, and that is on you. and on your leadership culture and values. AI isn't just another trend or a hype. It's the biggest workplace disruptor since the internet and social media. And while it brings opportunities, it also brings existential fear, which is understandable. Technological advancements and innovations like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and allied fields have enabled significant transformation of organizations in most domains of operating a business and an organization. And the integration of various technological tools and applications has significantly changed the working styles of our employees from hard work to smart work. Academics in universities, the educational sector, information technology, other IT-enabled companies, recruiting, banking, business process, outsourcing industry employees, all of them and so many more regularly use generative artificial intelligence tools such as OpenAI, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Copilot, Bing AI from Microsoft. These are just a very few examples of tools and applications that we have available for us today that are all based on large language models. No wonder employees fear being replaced and becoming irrelevant or losing their identity. Generative AI technology has the potential to automate most employees' routine tasks with increased performance and productivity, and that is how we should talk about them, and that is how we should address them. But when you invite the employees into this narrative, when they understand the role that they can play in the new chapter, that fear turns into curiosity, even hope. Trust is critical here. Studies show that when employees trust how AI is implemented, they're more likely to stay engaged and committed. When they don't, obviously the disengagement rises. So how can you invite your people to this AI-driven transformation? Story-driven businesses don't treat AI like a tech upgrade. We position AI change within the human story, a story of growth, adaptation, and opportunity. And that is how you bring your people with you. One study found that change management significantly increases when employees perceive a strong connection between the change and their personal purpose. In the contemporary world of work, organizational change is constant. For change to be successful, employees need to be positive about implementing organizational change. And in this, what I call the new world of work, organizations have had to quickly adapt to changes due to COVID-19, climate change, changes in global markets, global competition, politics, technological advancements, changes to government regulations, and rapidly changing consumer and employee expectations and demands. Change engagement reflects to the extent to which employees are enthusiastic about change, about that change that your organization needs to push through, and the extent that they are willing to actively involve themselves in promoting and supporting this organizational ongoing change inside the organization and outside the organization. Despite this increasing recognition that change is a constant in contemporary organizational context, it has been estimated that change initiatives have a failure rate of between 30 and 70%. That is terrible. Although successful organizational change is in large part dependent on how senior leaders envision, plan, implement, and communicate the change, successful change fundamentally relies on employees adapting new ways of thinking and behaving. How equipped would you say that we as leaders are to accept this AI-driven change? As change impacts all of us, not just employees, but also you and me. Who is to say that as leaders, you and I are any readier to accept change than those people who report to us, who look up to us to guide the way, to navigate the change for them? It feels almost too much to ask us to have the emotional strength and capacity to also hold their hands, figuratively speaking, of course. That's where I strongly believe that story-driven business comes into place. And I spoke about this in much more detail in episode 203. So you may want to check that out if you haven't yet. But a story-driven business applies the sciences of storytelling and persuasion to invite people on board to whatever is the company's mission and on the management agenda. And this invitation takes place through communication and messaging, which are being handled in a very strategic manner and tied to the business strategy and plans. And these applications affect how we communicate in written and verbal, what we choose as our key messages, and how we narrate that information in ways that make our people not just want to hear it, but actually consider what does it mean to them, what they heard, and feel confident in taking actions toward it. So instead of holding to information on your dear life until you feel ready to share it, your organization documents this journey like you had a documentarist on board, following your every step as you navigate that business change. And their job is to turn the journey with all its ups and downs into a storyline with an inspiring vision that impacts the audience's futures in a positive way. And the document doesn't have to be live. You can edit the information and select which parts are shown, but the more transparent you dare to be, the more emotional commitment you will gain. This story moves along with your business and organizational changes through all those ups and downs, casting the vision as you go along, because that is what inspires people to stick through those ups and downs. The focus on this narrative change communication is on heavily decreasing change aversion, fear, and lack of commitment, and strongly increasing the transparency of why and how we do this, what we learn on the way, and what the future looks like for us when we successfully together navigate this journey, step by step and milestone by milestone. As said, the management, we get to choose what we include in this story internally and externally. But the more we dare to include, especially about the ups and downs, as key learnings, I would say, the more contribution and positive impact and that important emotional connection we will create. This leads to higher level of commitment from our current and future stakeholders, from employees to customers, investors, and other important stakeholders. So before we close this episode, I want to share some tips on how to create the vital emotional commitment as you navigate this AI-driven change in your business and organization. And I'm going to be very practical because theories are not helping anyone. So here are the 5 ways to foster emotional connection to your business story as you go through change in your organization. Any kind of change. It doesn't have to be AI-driven change, but any kind of change. So first you want to take a check on that emotional pulse. Ask, can our employees explain how their work connects to our mission? If the answer is very fuzzy, you have an emotional gap that needs fixing with better communication and messaging. You have to be more clear in what you communicate, how you communicate it, and what are the actual messages. So you need to evaluate, you need to assess if your employees can explain how their work connects with your mission. Then you have to invite them into co-creation. So you need to kind of plug in the co-creation mode, use things like storytelling workshops, town halls, interactive forums to shape the narrative together. Don't dictate. Invite, co-create, and welcome what comes out. You don't have to use it all, but welcome what comes out, because the more you engage people, the better outcomes you will create. So the key is to keep people involved, pick up the notes, and use it in both communication and building your new AI-led business. And then the importance of creating that psychological safety. So make it safe to ask questions, admit uncertainty, and share feelings during change. And this is something that you really need to drill in the sort of day-to-day behavior of the line manager, of the nearest managers. You need to really make sure that they know how to create a safe, psychologically safe environment. So co-create solutions instead of handing them down. Document and share as content in communication. You have to keep tabs on line managers on their skills and capacity of creating the psychologically safe environment for contribution. Then narrate the why. Always link big business changes back to the bigger purpose. Why does it matter? Why is it vital for us? What happens if we don't change? Who does it help, and how does it align with your shared values? Keep reminding your people and make sure that all this translates also to your external target audiences. You need to make sure that the bridge is also solid externally, and not just in your customer and investor audience, but also in your talent audience. This is an area of communication that seems to be regularly ignored or not even recognized as an equally important target audience. And then the fifth one, measure what matters. Track emotional engagement. Run pulse surveys on trust, clarity, and safety. Use the data to fine-tune your messaging and communication plans. Okay, final thoughts. How to use story to glue everyone together during change. Now, the future of work will be uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be chaotic. When your business communicates its purpose, mission, and journey like a story and invites employees, customers, investors, and other important stakeholders in that story, they don't just survive the change, they shape it. They commit to it on an emotional level. They want to be part of it. They lead it. They own it. Because the story isn't just the company's anymore, it becomes ours. So ask yourself, what story are you asking your people to believe in? And how emotionally connected do they feel to it? Or are you asking them anything? Because when they care, they stay. They stretch and they will surprise you. As I said, you can find this entire episode in a blog version, the show notes article at modernemployerbrand.com/podcast205. And I asked AI to find me a quote to finish this episode with, and this is what AI proposed to me. This is by Peter Senge. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. So invite them in to change it. Do you want to help rewriting your business story for the AI era? Start with my book, Story-Driven Employer Branding, Introducing the Magnetic Employer Branding Method, and subscribe to this Story-Driven Business podcast for weekly inspiration on leading through storytelling. My name is Susanna Rantanen. I am your guide to business storytelling inside out. Keep leading with story, and I'll see you again next week with a new episode on the Story-Driven Business Podcast. Ciao!